In today's show, Draymond Green is unraveling, so are the Golden State Warriors, and it's good news for the Portland Trail Blazers. Plus, Shaedon Sharpe's cooking, and they're about to play the Jazz for the fourth time already this season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. Listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same as Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, a veritable grab bag of fun. Talking about Draymond Green's indefinite suspension and why it's just great news. More great news coming out of San Francisco for your Portland Trail Blazers. Preview the fourth meeting with the Jazz. And then we'll talk about Shaedon Sharpe, who's been killing it on a level that future Hall of Famers have typically killed it at. Or at least two in the league, destined for the Hall of Fame. Shaedon Sharpe playing like a star over his last 5 games. That's what we got in store for you. Let's start with the latest news. The NBA on Wednesday announced that Draymond Green will be suspended indefinitely for his spinning karate chop to former Trailblazer great Yusuf Nurkic's face. If you didn't see the play, I think it's worth looking up. It's quite a moment. Draymond's been on one. He's really having himself quite a year. They get tangled up on an inbounds play, and by tangled up, I mean that Yusuf Nurkic had his hand on Draymond Green's hip, and Draymond Green, to get free, decided to spin around, flail his arms, and land squarely in the bridge of Yusuf Nurkic's nose. It was like a spinning flying punch. Draymond Green apologized, and he said he was sorry, and he was just trying to sell a call by flailing his arms and trying to get himself free, and he was sorry to Yusuf Nurkic because he didn't do it intentionally. And then the league said, yeah, man, we saw you just a couple weeks ago chase down Rudy Gobert and choke him out. You cannot keep doing this. So he's suspended indefinitely. We'll see how long an indefinite suspension is. I wouldn't be super surprised if an indefinite suspension is the same as a 5-game suspension. It just becomes definite after 5 games. But we'll see. We'll see. Repeat offender, and Draymond is just like, between stomping on Domantas Sabonis' chest in the playoffs, coming back and choking out Rudy Gobert, now whacking Yusuf Nurkic in the face. It's just he just has too many of these recently to pass by it. So he's going to be out. Blazers play the Warriors on Sunday. We will see if Draymond plays. I would assume certainly not as soon as Sunday, but remains to be seen. The real key here for the Portland Trail Blazers is not that Draymond Green is unhinged, although it is kind of entertaining that he was like the guy Dame was like begging to play with, and now it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? That's it. Draymond's really good. Going to make the Hall of Fame. One of the all-timers. Just absolutely the sort of... he's a graybeard, and he's having a really bizarre graybeard part of his career. Some players change their ways when they get old, and Draymond became a combat sport enthusiast. But why it really matters for the Blazers is because they hold the Warriors 2024 pick, top 4 protected, and the Warriors stink? I don't know if they truly stink. There's some really bad teams in the NBA right now. They play in San Antonio, Detroit, and Washington, D.C. Even the 2 teams that are playing tomorrow night that we're going to talk about, the Blazers and the Jazz, totally different tier than the truly awful teams in the league. But the Warriors are not good. They're 11th in the West. They're below average on offense, 18th on offense. They're 14th on defense. They're 16th in net rating. They're kind of mediocre. They look like a mediocre team, not a championship hopeful. When Draymond got kicked out against the Suns, they closed that game without Draymond, but everyone else pretty much still available. That's part of the plan. And at the end of that game against Phoenix, on the bench watching, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, ineffective and have to sit. Kevon Looney on the bench. So was Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, and Darius Saric. And it's like, that's their best five to go win a game right now. Steph Curry went cold in the fourth quarter and they lost by 3. They're not in a good spot at 10-13. They've lost 6 straight on the road, 3 of 4 overall. Like, the Warriors are, 10-13, 23 games in means nothing really in the grand scheme in terms of, with the play in now, you could make the playoffs and all that. But like, if the Warriors were a top tier team, if they were going to be one of the good teams, we would know it by now. There's a chance that they're one of the decent teams and they get back in the mix and they're like 5th or 6th in the West, but they are not going to be a home court advantage type team. I feel very comfortable saying that. Not going to be a home court advantage type team in the playoffs, and maybe significantly worse. Without Draymond for a while, they're already strange front court rotation. Maybe it'll make Steve Kerr play Kuminga and Moses Moody and Pods a little bit more, but like, they look like they're in a little bit of trouble. And that's great news for the Portland Trail Blazers. They have the top 2024 top 4 protected pick. Right now, it's 11th. This is the second week of December. It's the 11th pick in the draft. But like, there is a very real chance that the Warriors are just straight up not good and that they end up a lottery team. When dynasties fade, it is not usually riding off into the sunset and then MJ retires and everyone goes their own way. Even when MJ retired, the Bulls had, it's been tough for them since. Check the tape. But like, typically these things blow up. Typically when they end, they blow up. And if this is the end of a historic Warriors run stretching back to 2015, Klay Thompson's not good anymore. He was a good shooter last year. Can't shoot. Andrew Wiggins has just lost it. He was a very special part of their last championship team. Draymond Green is like incapable of playing within the rules of the sport. And Steph Curry's still a hero, but doesn't have his running mates. It's kind of how dynasties end, right? The parts fall off the car and then you end up wheelless on the highway. I'm not saying it's over for them. Like I said, I think there's still a totally reasonable chance that they're something like the 5th best team in the West when all the dust settles and blah, 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 blah. But there's also a totally reasonable chance that they're one of the bad teams and they're the 11th best team in the West and they miss the play-in altogether. Totally real. The West has enough good teams that they could easily miss the playoffs, and that's great news. And the more time Draymond misses is great news for your Portland Trail Blazers. So I don't know, celebrate it. Pop some champagne. Might be a little early to celebrate, but it's not too early to enjoy it. If you're going to bask in someone's misfortune, why not bask in the misfortune of the Golden State Warriors? That seems like something you could do as a Blazer fan. Have at it. Let's talk about the Blazers game. They play Thursday evening. They play the Utah Jazz. It's the 4th and final meeting with the Jazz. These teams have seen each other a lot, but this one is a little bit different. Let me tell you why. Because for the first time all year long, the Trail Blazers are favored. So you can go to FanDuel.com right now. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Actually, that's the place you want to go. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. And the Blazers, as I'm recording this on Wednesday evening after the Jazz game, are favorites for the first time in the entire year. Favorites. They were dogs on the road against the Detroit Pistons. Favored -122 to outright win on the money line. 1.5 point favorites. And listen, FanDuel wants to give you some money. If you place a $5 money line bet on your Portland Trail Blazers to win for the first time as favorites all season, you can get $150 in bonus bets. That's $150 when the Trail Blazers win as the favored team. Can you believe it? Once you get those bonus bets, you can bet on everything, not just money lines, spreads, player props, over-unders, live bets, whatever it is. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Have yourself a little bit of fun. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All right. Let's talk Jazz. Let's talk Trailblazers. Meeting number 4 on the season. 4 times in 23 games. Okay, cool. Very cool scheduling, cool balanced scheduling from everyone. It's what diehard fans want to see is Jazz Blazers 4 times before December 20th. And we're just so lucky to have seen it. Jazz are up 2-1 in the series so far. They handled the Blazers in a in-season tournament game, and they beat and then they beat them again without in overtime without Lauri Markkanen and extremely shorthanded. No Markkanen, no Clarkson, no Kelly Olynyk, and the Blazers lost to who were also pretty darn shorthanded. Lost to the Jazz in OT, and the Blazers with Lauri Markkanen in the lineup. The last time Markkanen played actually prior to tonight, the Blazers won that game by double digits. One of the Blazers' better wins on the season in terms of just like, hey, we're going to beat you because we're better than you. This is meeting number 4, and the Jazz, importantly, are a little bit healthier than they've been, but not quite. Lauri Markkanen he played against the Blazers. They lost. Their Jazz lost. He misses 8 games with a hamstring strain, comes back, plays against the Knicks on Wednesday evening. You're listening to Thursday, December 14th show, and the Jazz will be on a second night of a back-to-back. But just 4 minutes into that game, rookie point guard Keyonte George, who looked like he was taking over for the Jazz starting point guard spot, hurt his foot. They haven't made any more specifics. Hurt his foot, left 4 minutes in the game and didn't return. That stinks. They really don't have a point guard, and George was having a nice little season. He was starting to had a 30-point game not too long ago. He's starting to this is who the folks in Utah are raving about, starting to put it together. Injuries stink. They're part of the game, but they stink. So they will be, you'll get to see a lot of Blazers legend Chris Dunn play, and along with Talen Horton-Tucker at those 2 point guard spots. This is. These are 2 teams that are struggling this year. The Jazz, they're 26th on offense, they're 27th on defense. They have the 27th best net rating, according to Clean the Glass. That's a bottom 3 net rating, outscored points per 100 possessions allowed versus points per 100 possessions scored. They're not good. They haven't been good. Every team's gonna be worse when they miss a best player. Ask the Portland Trailblazers, but it is. The Jazz are struggling because they don't really have a point guard, and they don't really have that sort of they don't have that calming force. Last year they had vets who could calm things down and play. Michael Conley is just such a competent point guard, competent sort of floor organizer. He would get you organized on defense. They had Jared Vanderbilt for a bunch of the year. Like they were winning games early last season because of their veteran presence and the Lauri Markkanen breakouts. Lauri Markkanen is still really stinking good, but they're just super young in a bunch of spots, and the lack of the point guard lack of point guard play has really hurt them on offense, in my opinion. What the Jazz do really well is that when they're humming, is they pass the ball and they keep it whirring, they keep it moving, right? Like, because Markkanen is not like an ISO scorer. He's a catch on the move, doesn't take a ton of dribbles. Like, he's a guy who scores, makes quick decisions and can score from all 3 levels with quick decisions, and he's gigantic. Without a point guard to set them up when things go a little haywire, they've seemed to struggle a bit in the times that I've watched them. They're still going to jack up a ton of threes. It's what they do. They shoot 3-pointers, but they haven't had it, and Keyonte George was looking like he was going to get them going, but he hasn't been there. Walker Kessler been in and out of the lineup. That has certainly been an issue for him because they can't play the gigantic lineups that they would prefer to play a little bit. John Collins, after a hot shooting start, has also been, we'll call it off his game to some extent. And the real truth of the Jazz is that they're young. They're young. And, Taylor Hendricks played a bunch of minutes against the Knicks on Wednesday night. The Jazz, they're just to wit. Okay. They're playing a bunch of youth, right? They're playing Keyonte George, but he's hurt. They're playing Simone Fontecchio, who doesn't have a lot of NBA experience. Taylor Hendricks, who's spent a bunch of time in the G League, is back, is playing. Ochai Agbaji in his second year is playing. Walker Kessler in his second year is playing. They're young. And against the Knicks, it's a 5-point game after 3 quarters. The Jazz come with a roaring fourth quarter to build a 17-point lead. And you're like, I was literally watching the game. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to record the podcast. Like I'll fill in the final score when it ends. And then they were up, 106-89. And I'm like, all right, see ya. And then with 30 seconds left, the Knicks have the ball down 3 with a chance to tie it and missed two looks at a 3. First one, a really good look from Blazers legend Josh Hart. Second one, Jalen Brunson. Definitely a makeable shot, but certainly a harder one. They missed them both. Jazz stay in the game, make free throws, win the game. But like, it's what young teams do, right? Is that they just can't close. And I feel like that's the difference in the Jazz from last year to this year. Is they had the vets to help you close, help you stabilize, help you take advantage of your skills, and they're missing that this year. I mentioned John Collins struggling a little bit to shoot. He didn't play Wednesday night. He has an illness. It's unclear whether he'll play Thursday. But importantly for the Blazers, no Jeremy Grant. Questionable listing for both DeAndre Ayton and Malcolm Brogdon. They were both listed as questionable against the Clippers and did not play. So I would assume truly they'll go get through whatever shoot around, warm up stuff. The Blazers don't host like a formal shoot around, but they'll be at the gym in the morning and then see if they can get ready to go. It'd be nice to see the Blazers play at something that is akin to full strength. Jeremy Grant's not going to play, already ruled out with concussion, still in concussion protocol, although he was at the practice facility today when reporters were let in. So, TBD on the Blazers injury stuff, but I think hopefully this weekend, the start of a 5-game road trip, hopefully sometime in this weekend, sometime in this homestand, we'll see them back at what approximates full strength this time of year. Obviously, Rob Williams out for the season, but I think the meeting with the Jazz should be an intriguing one because these are two evenly matched teams, and record-wise, and I think with Markkanen in the lineup, the Jazz are much more comparable to the Blazers in terms of talent. Without him, I think the Blazers are just straight up better. But like with him, comparable in terms of talent. And, young teams that are a little wayward right now and want to get right. Obviously, the Blazers have been much better on defense this year than the Jazz. So we shall see. Meeting number 4, a familiar foe. It's just the parts haven't looked the same in the prior meetings. You know what part's going to look the same? Shaedon Sharpe. Last time we saw Shaedon Sharpe play against the Jazz, he had one of the great dunks of the year on Walker Kessler in the closing minutes of regulation when the Blazers were fiercely trying to come back. Shaedon Sharpe crammed all over Walker Kessler, and then Toumani Camara crammed all over Walker Kessler, and the Blazers came up just short in OT. Dang! But those highlights, they stick. And Shaedon Sharpe looks like he's special, and he's playing like the special ones, like future Hall of Famers do. Let's talk about the last 5 games of Shaedon Sharpe and the history he's been making. Before we do that, I want to tell you about Dave. Dave is a banking app that is leveling up the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of the Dave's extra cash account. Advance money you need with no interest, and then you can settle up later. You can build credit when you settle up on time. And millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to make their finances easier. So if you're in a pinch and you need to get help, you can start by downloading Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. That's dave.com/lockedonnba. Get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app or go to dave.com/lockedonnba for terms and conditions. Go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Still a pass, first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. What we do in these previews often is we play a little game called You'd Love to See It, where we talk about things you would love to see. And you know what you would love to see against the Jazz is Shaedon Sharpe keep plying his trade because he's been on one. The Blazers are better on offense with Anthony Simons back in the lineup. He helps. But what has really unlocked things for Shaedon Sharpe is just playing next to a point guard, period. There was a time this year when all the injuries mounted up and Sharpe was asked to lead the offense and be the primary guy that set things up and ran against, played point guard role, play that primary initiator role. And it didn't fit what he is and what he's best at. And he was overtaxed and he struggled. And it was the worst stretch. It's about 2 weeks, 8 games, the worst stretch of his season. But now that Malcolm Brogdon's back healthy and Anthony Simons back healthy, Shaedon Sharpe is put in a position to do what he does best: attack the second side, attack against closeouts, attack coming off a pin down where it is more space to make it happen. He's not going to get double teams. He's at least not in the same way. He's not going to receive that sort of primary attention that you would. He's playing truly as an off-ball attacking wing, which is what he is. It's what he is. He can run pick and rolls. He's improving as a playmaker and improving as a shooting and decision-making off the dribble a great deal this year. He's been way better at it than he has in the past, but he is an attacking wing. An attack he has. Over his last 5 games, he's averaging 26.2 points, 6.6 boards, and 5 assists. Slash line, 52, 53, 47, 81. 53, 47, 81. 53 from the floor, 47 from 3, and 81% from the free throw line. A couple missed free throws short of a 50, 40, 90 club. On 26 points per game. To go with 6.5 rebounds. To go with 5 assists. Balling. He's just on a heater from 3. He's taken 8 over the last 5 games, 8.6 attempts from 3, shooting 46.5%. I'm rounding up to 47. So let's just call it what it is. Shaedon Sharpe's not going to shoot 47% from 3 all year long, but the volume is great. 8.5 a game, great. Stay there. Don't change. Say he drops down to slightly above average, 38%. Well, ho-hum. He'll only be averaging 21, 7, and 5, 21, 6.5, and 5. Aw, dang. So he'll go from outrageous superstar level to, if his shooting calms down to normal, to just extremely good basketball player. I'm getting out in front of the people saying it's a hot shooting streak. He's made at least 3 threes in all 5 of his last 5 games, in each of his last 5 games. Balling. So you know what you would love to see against the Jazz is Shaedon Sharpe just keep doing what he does. Keep doing what he does, because it makes when his role makes sense and his ask makes sense, his skill can be maximized, and the maximized version of his skill is really tough to deal with. Only 2 other 20-year-olds in the NBA have ever had 5 consecutive games with at least 24 points, at least 3 rebounds, and at least 4 assists. That's what Shaedon Sharpe has done for 5 straight games. At least 24, at least 3 boards, at least 4 assists in 5 straight games. Averaging 26, 6, and 5, right? Averaging 26, 6, and 5, but at least 24 points, at least 3 boards, at least 4 assists. 2 20-year-olds. Luka Doncic, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, has already put together a Hall of Fame level career. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Luka Doncic. It's great. Had a 12-game streak in 2019, had another 6-game streak in 2019, and then came back with another 6-game streak. He was freaking good. He's, as it turns out, dominating the EuroLeague as a teenager really allowed him to also come over here and dominate the NBA as well as a teenager, or as a 20-year-old. Nuts. LeBron James is the other one. It's Luka and LeBron. LeBron is... We don't need to couch him as a future Hall of Famer. He is, if you are my age, the best basketball player you've ever seen. And if you're a little bit older, he's like the second best basketball player you've ever seen. At worst, I'm going to say this, at worst, LeBron James has had the best career of any player in the history of the NBA. This might not be the best player in the history of the NBA, but at worst, the worst case scenario is that LeBron's had the best career of anyone in the league. When you're on a list with prodigy Luka Doncic and generational best player of his generation LeBron James, you've had a good couple weeks. You've had a nice little 5-game stretch. This one was tweeted out by Basketball Reference, and then I'll add a caveat here before I come back to just keeping it real. Only of the players who are under 20 who have averaged 25, 5, and 5 over a 5-game stretch, Shaedon Sharpe is his second best shooting percentage to anyone else, of anyone other than LeBron. LeBron true shooting percentage in a stretch in December of 2005, 5 straight games where he averaged 25, 5, and 5. He was shot 70.2% on his true shooting percentage. That accounts for value of 3-pointers and free throws. Shaedon Sharpe during this stretch, 67.9 true shooting percentage. He's nuts. He's been nuts. The efficiency has been there. The volume has been there. He's rebounding. He's been one of the best rebounders on the team. He's making plays with the dimes. He's scoring at all 3 levels. He's getting to the free throw line. He's playing like a star. And I'll say this, people like me who sit in this chair and have microphones that look like this, and they have YouTube channels with memorabilia behind them and a podcast with a loyal listener base, you know what they love to do? They love to go to Basketball Reference and type in something stupid. How many 20-year-olds have scored at least 24 points, 3 boards, and 4 assists in 5 consecutive games in December prior to Christmas, and mostly on Tuesdays? We love that stuff. That's me. I guess that's an impression of myself. We love that stuff. It's naturally limiting. It is by its nature a narrow search, right? In the 80s and 90s, players didn't leave college to get into the NBA in their 20s. And there was a stretch from the middle 90s to the first couple years of the 21st century when guys did leave and come out of high school. Now it's literally you can't come into the NBA till after your 19th birthday. There just aren't that many 20-year-olds in the league. It's like it is a specifically reduced population of players, right? Like it is artificially narrow to say 20-year-olds have done this in the league. So don't say that. Don't say that. Say that Shaedon Sharpe is averaging 26, 6.5, and 5 over his last 5 games. Say that Shaedon Sharpe is taking 8 threes a game and making 47% of them. Say that Shaedon Sharpe has scored at least 24 points in 5 games. That means he's showing up on the freaking scouting report, and they're saying we have to stop him. Take away his pin downs. Take away those curls to the rim. He wants to get to his right hand. He likes to stop around the free throw line and fade left and get shots up. If you go under on screens, he will take that 1-pound dribble and shoot a 3. And you know what they haven't been able to do? Stop him from scoring. The Basketball Reference search is fun and fine and true and real, and he's on a list with just Luka Doncic and just LeBron James, and it's impressive, and folks like me with microphones like this love that stuff because it gives you a third segment on your podcast on a Wednesday evening. But the real truth is that Shaedon Sharpe is balling. He's balling, and if you watch him, he's balling. And this is what you wanted. You wanted it. You wanted him to break out as a 20-year-old, and particularly early in the year, it looked like he was going to be special. Then he had that stretch where it's like, is he just a 20-year-old in the league? Darn, it's tough. Development's non-linear, and there's peaks and valleys. Well, the peak is fun, and enjoy the peak. You don't need Basketball Reference. Go watch him play on Thursday night. Dude is hooping, and the Jazz aren't good on defense. Who's going to guard him? He's going to go for 26, 6.5, and 5. Probably won't have 6.5. Probably have a round number, but 26, 7, and 5. That's what you'd love to see. You'd love to see him just keep doing it. I think the artificial searches in this case, they just feel so good. It feels so good. LeBron and Luka. Ooh, it feels so good. But the real truth is that if any player was on a heater like this, true shooting percentage at like 68, averaging 26, 25, 5, and 5 for a couple weeks, it would be a great run. This would be all-star level stuff. Any 5-game sample suggests that there are 77 other regular season games. So here's what you'd love to see. You'd love to see this not be a 5-game sample. You'd love to expand that Basketball Reference search. So nerds like me don't have to artificially narrow the searches. We can just say, Hooper. Because the kid is a hooper. He's fun. Last time we saw him play the Jazz, he detonated on Walker Kessler at the rim at crunch time. A highlight dunk that helped spur a comeback and force overtime. What's he going to do for the encore? Let's watch on Thursday, and then Friday on this very podcast, we'll talk about it. Sounds good to me. Hope it sounds good to you. If it does, tell your friend about the show. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Come back and listen to tomorrow's show. We'll talk about the Jazz, talk about Shaedon Sharpe, just unguardable. Dude's looking like a star. 6 in a row? Why not? All right, come back and listen to tomorrow's show. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.